All right, Tuesday night, Krug Show brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. Raj is in the house. We had a chance to talk to the coaches today. We are fired up. A lot to get to, as always. Let's go. Off and running Tuesday night on the Krug Show. Hope everybody's having a great day. Happy June the 3rd. Beautiful day in Northern California. Welcome to the Krug Show on a Tuesday night. Tuesday nights mean that Raj is in the house. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out there in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out, so get there early. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket. Get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by Claw Daddy Arcades. They're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. They've got three arcades in Southern Cal, plus spots in Fresno, Modesto, and they got a brand new spot coming in the Bay. So check them out. Check out Claw Daddy on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. And we are brought to you tonight also by LearnKey Upskill Academy. Big fans of LearnKey Upskill Academy. It's an online learning platform designed to get you job ready in 6 months or less. So they handle a bunch of different fields. You could be interested in IT, it could be cybersecurity, it could be marketing, it could be another high-demand field. What they do is they offer over 30 certification programs to people who want to get more skills. And it really helps you take that next step in your career oftentimes. They've been in business for 37 years. They've helped over 200,000 students along the way. The owner's a personal friend. Check it out. They have over 100 graduates every month placed in really well-paying jobs. So we're big fans of LearnKey Upskill Academy. And if you need more skills, or if you're between jobs and you are looking for to improve your resume, check them out. The link's in the description. Thanks to all of our sponsors for being sponsors of the Krug Show. All right, we're off and running Tuesday night, and today was an interesting day because today we were down in Santa Clara, and I think by league rule, the NFL makes the teams kind of allow the media to talk to their assistant coaches, I think once or twice a year. And it's always one of my, some of my favorite days of the year because, one, the coaches, assistant coaches, are a wealth of knowledge. They have tons and tons of information about each one of the guys that they coach and their position, and oftentimes the guys that were drafted at their position and the young players coming up on this roster at their position. So today, for example, I had a chance to talk to Chris Forster, Mick Lombardi, Bobby Turner, Johnny Holland, the linebacker coach, Chris Kasarik, and we had a chance to talk to each of them extensively and ask them a number of questions, and a bunch of things came out. And it's like I really don't know where to start, but I just love a day like today for 49er fans because these guys are, they're more knowledgeable than any beat writer. They're more knowledgeable than anybody like me. They're more knowledgeable than the Niners scouts or even the most knowledgeable NFL insiders. Why? These are the coaches on the team, and most NFL teams, as you can tell, utilize their coaches in the draft process as part of their evaluation process. So a lot of these guys are really, really not just coaching their position, but they're really up to speed on the young players that may have been added at their position in the offseason. So they were great to talk to today. And Raj, I don't know if you posted this a lot. How did you handle this today at RSF 49ers? Did you guys post a lot today?
Yeah, I mean, we posted. Well, I didn't post as much as I probably should have or could have. I was pretty busy working and stuff. But yeah, I posted the news that the 49ers, gave us today. Obviously, there was some transaction news and things like that. And I talked about the main thing was that I thought the big takeaway was Trent Williams back in the building. Chris Forster told us that he's back and healthy. I think that was my biggest post of the day. And then I had a couple clips that I was going to post. I was watching on YouTube. I was watching the 49ers press pass, so I was kind of watching it. I was going to put some clips up there, but I feel like most reporters covered it pretty well. I saw some of your tweets and whatnot. So I was just a fan listening and reading what the coaches said. So I was pretty happy to hear, everybody's kind of upbeat, but I think the biggest takeaway that I got out of it was Trent Williams is back. Because a couple of days ago, a lot of people were insinuating that, where's Trent? Where's he at? But he's back.
Well, yeah, I mean, Trent's at that age that, everybody's going to believe that he's retiring and this and that. And obviously, it's a huge, if he retired, it would be a huge, huge hit for the 49ers to take. He's the best player on the team. He's a future Hall of Famer. The guy's going to Canton. He's the best left tackle of his era. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that it's official that he's coming back for another year, that's great to hear for sure. That was one of the news items today that, indeed, Trent Williams is healthy and back in Santa Clara for OTAs. The Niners also made a couple other news and notes today. They signed wide receiver Malik Knowles, and I haven't looked too much into Knowles, but I'm pretty sure, isn't he the K-State receiver?
Yeah, he's undrafted. He was on the Vikings practice squad for like a second, but he hasn't really played it down in the NFL. So he has some potential, but I think it's more of like a training camp body because Trent Taylor, he went on the injury reserve with an injury. So I feel like it's non-sequential type move. But hey, you never know what these things. The Niners receiver, you got Ricky Pearsall on the man, Brandon Aiyuk, who made some splashes today in social media. Other than that, I don't know if he's going to do much on the team. But hey, he made the Vikings practice squad a year ago, so maybe he can make the Niners practice squad.
We'll have to get to the Aiyuk thing. I'll need you to decipher for what the heck was going on there. But yeah, Trent Taylor was put on the IR with a back injury. Malik Knowles was picked up, probably not a major pickup. Last week, the 49ers had a practice, and I tweeted out kind of an, I guess I was a little bit of a smart-ass tweet, to be completely honest. Unlike me to do that. But I tweeted out that Nicholas Petit Frere, in my opinion, was going to have a petite career with the 49ers because he looks so horrible at minicamp. I tweeted that the other day. I'm like, yeah, Nicholas Petit Frere is going to have a petite future with the 49ers because he looked horrible.
Wow.
Well, today they waived him. Him. So
you were the reason he got waived for Bryce Huff.
That was the reason. Otherwise he would have had a 10-year career with the Niners, but I tweeted that he looked bad, and the Niners don't want to disagree with me, and so today they waived him. Man. Now, this guy, he looked, I mean, there's good, there's great, there's, difference makers, there's tone setters. On the other side of the spectrum, there's bad, there's horrible, and then there's what he was, which was, bad? Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. I mean, one, I don't know if he was even healthy. He didn't look like he was really hobbling. Okay. That's one. Two, he has no ability to run. I mean, he's just not an athlete at this point. I don't know what I would call that. Some kind of a weird gallop. And so I don't think he was healthy. He didn't look right. He has no power. I mean, for a big guy, he has no power. I mean, there's no anchor. There was no explosion. There was no like, oh, wow, look at that guy. It was like, wow, you got to be kidding me. And so, so that was one of the things that came up today. Nicholas Petit Frere is no longer. Also, the Bryce Huff deal is official. He passed his physical, and so the Niners sent a 5th-round pick that potentially could be a 4th-round pick to Philadelphia for Bryce Huff, and Huff is now officially a 49er. All right, why don't we start with what I thought was kind of one of the most interesting answers today. I went up to Johnny Holland, and I wanted to ask Johnny Holland about Nick Martin. And it's Johnny Holland, is a great guy to talk to. I love Johnny Holland, A&M guy. I'm an A&M fan, so I've been a fan of Johnny Holland for years. Yeah. Anyway, here he is talking about Nick Martin. And I think I asked him, what's one word to describe Nick Martin, and listen to the word he chooses.
Johnny, what are your early impressions of Nick Martin on the practice field?
Speed. He can run, and he's violent, and he loves ball, and cat look like he can run all day, and so that's pretty impressive. And he's eager to learn and eager to do it right, and that's that's what we look for in a player. And it's almost, you look at him as he's no doubt he's going to be a good player. It's going to take time, and it's hard for rookies to come in and master what we do. So hopefully he can take one step at a time and continue to get improved. And I know when he first got here, he was a little drifty, and now he take coaching so well that now he know how to trigger him, get downhill and not drift. And I know I just reminded of a play had yesterday. He was a backside buzz player. Ball was thrown 40 yards across the field, and he was full speed all the way across the field. And that kind of stuff there that's what make players really good, when they can do all the little things right all the time and not sometime, and make it a habit. And so that's one thing I try to stress with all our linebackers, that you got to make it a habit of keeping your pads low, make it a habit of breaking and driving to the ball, make it a habit of punching the ball a lot. And then in the game, I don't have to think about it. It's a habit.
Johnny, what do you?
Great cut there from Johnny.
That was good. That was nice.
Wasn't that good stuff?
Good, yeah.
Johnny is good. And so he's talking about Nick Martin there. And, Nick Martin, tell me about him, Johnny. Speed. And then he's like, he's violent. He loves ball. Pretty impressive, loves to learn, eager to learn. The line, though, that caught my eye or caught my ear, there's no doubt he's going to be a good NFL player.
Yeah.
I mean, well, the other day, Raj, and I mentioned this today to Johnny, there was a play in the mini camp where they just swung the ball in the flat. And I don't know if it was CMC or Guerendo. It was just Purdy flinging it in the flat to a running back. And Nick Martin went over there. And obviously they're not tackling. They're not going full bore. But he wanted to get over there full bore and show that he was going to snuff that out like a candle. And he got over there so freaking fast. And I was standing right there, and the defensive sideline erupted with a lot of woofing, a lot of hooting and hollering, because this guy flashed major speed. So, we'll see. I mean, I know there are people out there that have their reservations. He's not the biggest player. Some people feel like he's going to overrun some plays. Johnny also told us that D. Winters he thought was the most impressive or most improved linebacker from last year to this year. And he said that he's really becoming a leader, and he really likes D. Winters. But there's no doubt later in the conversation, Johnny was like, "Hey, look, between D. Winters, Fred, and Nick, those we got three really good ones there."
Yeah, I think so. I think, Johnny Holland knows linebackers. If you want to talk about the Niners, they've always, for the most, I wouldn't say always, but for the most part over the last decade and plus, had great linebackers, and Fred Warner is the best in the business now. So what better to have a guy like him mentor Nick Martin and stuff. And I like Johnny Holland's assessment. There was an honest assessment. He said, the great traits that he had, but he didn't overhype him up. He knows he's a rookie, still has to learn. So I appreciate that he kept it pretty, factual and didn't say, oh my God, he's going to be the rookie of the year and this, that. We expect him to be good, but like you said, he still has to learn, but that's what the whole training camp process is. And by the end of it, you expect him to be, oh man, this guy is showing his potential. And from what I've heard and read and what Fred Warner said, this guy could be something else. But I too am very intrigued by D. Winters. I think if he could stay healthy, man, this guy could be a very good linebacker. That's why they took him a couple of years back. And, he has that potential, but his problem is injuries. And Nick Martin himself had an injury last year. So I feel like that's always the case with the Niners, right? If these guys, they develop and draft and stay healthy, they should be good. And they got good positional coaches, and Holland's the best of them. So I'm very excited for Nick Martin, and especially because last year linebacker was, other than Fred Warner, it was bleak, and then he got the injury, right, the ankle fracture. Then you had Dre Greenlaw, he's gone, bless you,
yes.
And the Devondre Campbell was an absolute nightmare. An absolute nightmare. So I feel like the Niners really, really are happy with the linebackers they have this year, and makes me happy because last year was a debacle there.
It was bad. So now you got Nick Martin, you got D. Winters. Obviously, you still got Fred playing at a really high level. Johnny was like, man, Nick Martin is just shadowing Fred. And he says it's a major advantage. The same way Mykel is shadowing Bosa, having Nick Martin shadow a player like Fred Warner is just a dream. And Johnny talked about how, that's the advantage of having the great players on the roster, is that you can sometimes get young players to play even higher or at a higher level than they normally would, just because the example is so spectacular as far as how hard they work and, what the standard is for success. So I thought that was really interesting. The other guy that Johnny talked up is he likes Chaz Surratt. He said, he's super athletic. He's super smart. He hits. He plays violent. He's been in the system before. Johnny said he liked him at North Carolina. He said he's really nice. He says he thinks he's got a lot of talent. He's excited about Chaz Surratt. So that was the stuff that came from Johnny. I thought the other big story of the day, I mean, I don't know if you want to call it a story, but when we had a chance today to talk to Chris Forster, the offensive line coach.
Yeah.
And in the mini camp the other day, I mean, Austin Pleasance looked amazing. And that was the good news. And the bad news was Nicholas Petit-Frere looked terrible. And then sure enough, they cut Petit-Frere today. But I had to ask, Forster about Austin Pleasance. And he lit up like a Christmas tree. He's a giant who can really move.
Wow.
He said, he said that, he looked good at minicamp, but he loved the speed. He said, man, this guy's really moving. He said he looks like a different guy. He goes, I told everybody in the off season when we broke up to go into the off season after the regular season ended. He said, I told everybody I wanted them to train so that they came back with more agility, more speed, and more quickness. And that's what Forster told the offensive linemen to emphasize in their training: agility, speed, and quickness. And he says that Austin Pleasance came back, and him and the O-line coaches are just absolutely wowed by how well this guy is moving. And he's huge.
Nice.
Raj, I think this is actually a bigger story than people even realize. What I mean by that is I think there's a chance that Austin Pleasance is going to start at right tackle for the 49ers.
Wow. That would send shockwaves through Niner fans. I don't know. I'll see what I mean.
Well, let's just say this. I think their best five might include is their best five Austin Pleasance on the bench and McKivitz at right tackle and Barch at left guard, or is their best five Pleasance at right tackle and McKivitz at left guard? Wow. I'm just saying the way this guy Pleasance looks and how big he is and how well he moves. Now, we didn't see Andre Dillard in the OTAs. He didn't practice, but he's thought to be pretty decent.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is the Niners didn't go after a tackle. I'm just saying Austin Pleasance, the way he looked in the minicamp wasn't like, oh, he looks pretty good. It was like, who the freak is that?
Wow.
Look at that freaking guy. Well, how big is Austin Pleasance? He's got to be huge.
He's got to be big. You know what, Larry, if that happens, I mean, that's a blessing. I mean, if we can upgrade O-line without having to do much, then, hey, more power to it. But
I know that seems like, and it's funny because Forster said, hey, look, we brought this guy in late in the year. We weren't sure what we had, but we really liked him. He's like, we had him in the workout, and we're like, hey, this guy can do it. They never had any intention of playing him. They had to they were forced to play him at the end of the year just because of all the injuries they had. Yeah, he's 6'6", 330.
6'7",
so this is
328 on what I have. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so this is a big boy. This is probably their biggest offensive lineman. In a lot of what's Big Trent at these days?
Like a realistic guy. This guy looks like a freaking.
He's probably about 6'6", 332, actually.
Trent Williams is. Let's get this. Let's pull this up. He is 6'5", 320. This guy's bigger. Austin Pleasance is bigger than Trent Dub.
Well, I'm telling you, the movement was off the charts. Now, the guy's 27. He's played with Jacksonville, Carolina, the Chargers, the Bears, the Cardinals, back to the Chargers, back to Arizona, back to the Bears, then to the Niners. So it's like this guy has been around and then some. So I'm just saying it's really a debate of who's better. Are they better with Austin Pleasance? Are they better with Ben Bartch?
Hey, if they upgrade, that's all. If they upgrade, fans are gonna be happy. If this guy comes in and he got the message to be better than everybody else that he's competing with, it's a dub. At the very least, he could be a swing tackle. Like you said, they brought in Dillard and whatever the case is. I just want this O-line to be upgraded. And if that's the guy, I don't care who it is, Larry. I just need somebody to block on this O-line because last year was not pretty. So if he's the guy, I'm all for it. So I like it. But you got to remember, no pads on right now. So let's see how
There's no pads. But this guy, I'm just telling you, this guy is moving like he's moving like a starter. Like if this guy's 330 and moves in the regular season the way he moved in minicamp, this guy's gonna contend for that spot, and it's gonna be interesting. Now, one other guy that I got the sense from talking to Furster today is also going to contend for a spot is Connor Colby.
Yeah,
and I asked Furster today
Chris on the field the other day
about Connor Colby. Listen to what I asked Furster. I thought he was getting in Colby, to be honest. I was watching that practice the other day, and Furster is just Raj. He's in his ear. He's MFing this guy to death. He's coaching him, but that is not. It's like those who shit on you aren't necessarily your enemies. People who take shit off your back aren't necessarily your friends. You know what I mean? And it's like coach's job is to coach you hard and to get you better. And I asked Furster about it today, and look at the sly grin when I kind of revealed to him that I saw that he was coaching Colby hard. Look, he kind of smiles at it.
Chris on the field the other day, it seemed like you were in the ear of Connor Colby, sounding him out pretty good. That usually is an indication that you like the guy and that you're coaching him hard. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, Connor. It was Austin Pleasant. Yeah, the two of them. I said, okay, I think you guys have a chance to play. So now the gloves are off because now we're going to find out because you need to feel the pressure now. So when you get in the game, it's not quite, I need to find out if you can handle it. We were just talking about it. It's not when you succeed, it's when you fail. We find out about a guy. So they're going to get it pretty good until they get it right. And we'll see how they do.
What do you think of him so far?
I like him. Connor's a good player.
And what do you think of Iowa coaching? And is Iowa?
Iowa's awesome.
Coaching up well.
They do a great job. They run the wide zone scheme excellent. They do a great job of running their scheme, the run game, protection wise. He's a very well coached player. It's really hard though because the Iowa kids are some of the better coached players in in college football. So when you get them and they come in, you're like, these guys are well coached, man. These guys can do it. So now you're sitting in a position where you're saying, is it just the coaching or is it the player? And you have to dig deeper into the numbers, dig deeper into the individual blocks and see, because you can get swayed a little much by these guys and how well they play in Iowa because they just do it over and it looks like us. I mean, whatever, we look like them, however you want to say it. They do a really good job of it. So you're like, you can fall in love with these kids and then you get them and they're like, they're not quite because you bought into their system.
Chris,
that's kind of interesting too. It's like basically he's saying that the system at Iowa is such a good system and they're so well coached that you could get fooled, Raj, and see a guy and be like, man, this guy's really good. And instead, it's really more their system. So it makes you kind of do a deeper dive for these personnel evaluators. But you could tell that he likes Colby. He likes Pleasance. He thinks he has a guard in Colby, a tackle in Pleasance, young guys that he feels like that are going to be, starters for the 49ers. And he is coaching these guys hard.
I like it. Yeah, the little grin he gave, that grin. He was like, "Oh, you saw that, Larry? You saw that?
You saw that?
I like it. But I gotta say this again. I like the assessment, but he also has said Jake Brendel's the bee's knees. Like that's the guy. So
that's true. Yeah, so you gotta take it with a grain of salt because of that.
A grain of salt, but I do like the assessment, and these guys are players that if they can hit their potential, if they're better than what we have right now, which everybody has been screaming to the top of their lungs on the top of the mountain, get a better O-line. If that's the case, and that's a W, and then you have good depth. So if anything, at least they can have really good depth on the O-line, and that's what they need. But yeah, Connor Colby, definitely Iowa guy. We talked about it many times on the show, Larry, that Iowa usually has good blockers. But it is interesting to know that, okay, yeah, they might have been good in Iowa because they're like so good at blocking. It's part of the system. That it might be harder to transition into the league because now you have to change the system, and they're so used to that system that made them good in Iowa. So maybe it's like a mask. But I think Connor Colby is going to be good. And honestly, that left guard position to me, there's just not a lot of – there's not a guaranteed starter. I know everybody's saying Ben Barch, but me and you have been on record saying the injuries have been an issue throughout his career, and I just don't think he has enough to like say, oh yeah, he's penciled in for that job. Honestly, that left guard position to me is going to be up for grabs during training camp. That is going to be the biggest competition, I feel like, in training camp. So it was good insight. I like that. I'm still liking that little grin though. That was a good question, Larry. That was good.
Definitely. Another guy, I'll tell you another guy that really opened my eyes the other day on the practice field is Isaac Guerendo. Isaac Guerendo. The 49ers are not going to miss Debo, and the reason they're not going to miss Debo is Isaac Guerendo, Jacob Cowing, and Jordan Watkins. They have added a lot of speed, and two of those guys were from last year, and they didn't make a huge impact. One guy's from this year. I think you're going to see all three of these guys really come of age. Guerendo is super intriguing. I mean, just watching him on the practice field, Raj, he's so damn big and so damn fast, and now he knows the system, and he just looks. It's like a car show, and he is just a freaking Lamborghini. You know what I mean? He's just they're all beautiful cars, but he's just like that car that's like, whoa, look at that thing roll. Here is Bobby T. I asked him today about Guerendo. Here's what he had to say about Guerendo.
What'd you think of Isaac Guerendo last year? It seemed like there was a lot of positives, but he's not necessarily a natural running back. How do you evaluate him?
Yeah, well, they all, everything's new, coming out of college. It was his first year. And so we would have liked to have him on the field, a lot more. But always seeing the positive that a person can contribute. His attitude is definitely where it needs to be. He wants to get better. He wants to improve. He wants to be coached. And that's a win-win for us and for him.
You guys threw him only 16 passes last year, but he caught 15 of them. And I thought that would seem like a great percentage. Do you see the same? Does those numbers reflect what he is as a receiver? Is he a real natural receiver?
Yes, he has he has natural, but the ability to learn and to retain, to be able to, run the routes. The bottom line is to win on any given route, and his hands are good, and he has a positive attitude. And but the sky's the limit for him. He's going to do nothing but get better.
The sky is the limit, and Raj, I know that seems like that's a cliche. The sky's the limit, but for this guy, I kind of think the sky is the limit. I think Guerendo is going to be freaking amazing, and I think Cowing is too, because what these guys have are real tools. It's not like some of these guys where it's like, well, they have marginal tools and they're going to get a little better from year one to year two. Cowing has got great tools, great ability to run routes, great hands, and major explosion. And Guerendo's big. We're talking about almost 230 pounds, and he is the fastest guy on the field. And when you watch him, it's like, whoa. I just got to think that this year there'll be more kind of a varied usage of him as a runner, as a receiver, maybe moving him around the formation in different spots because now he'll know he knows the offense probably from the fullback spot and the tight end spot and the wide receiver spot. And he catches the ball so naturally, and he's so big and fast. Man, I think you're going to see a lot of Guerendo, man. I don't know how it's going to manifest itself. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but that guy's too big and too athletic not to utilize at least 5, 6, 7 touches a game.
That's good, man. I mean, at the end of the day, to me, it sounds like he's the new wide back. I mean, you said it. Deebo Samuel's gone. Okay, everybody's thinking it's going to be Jacob Cowing, a Persall, and I think they're going to get usage because Brandon Aiyuk's, we don't know when he's coming back, right? So you have Juwan Jennings, he's your top guy. You need some help out there at the end of the day. So Cowing, he should get some help, some carry or some touches. But Guerendo is going to do exactly what Debo did because they lined Debo up in the backfield. He was a wide receiver playing running back. Now you got a running back that can run the routes. It's short intermediate catches, just a little dump off, the running back screens, the little slant and go over the middle. He's going to be able to do that stuff, and he's got the speed. So I feel like they're basically priming him up to be that quick hitter. You can give him a 2-yard dump off pass. He turns it into 20, 30 yard and a cloud of smoke. I feel like that's the thing. He just has to stay healthy. That is the one issue with the 49ers backfield is they take a beating, and they, if CMC can stay healthy, then you can utilize Guerendo in that mold. Now, if CMC gets hurt, then you're going to have to use him like a lead back. And then that's when things, occur. And I just hope he stays healthy because they had Elijah Mitchell, who was good. That man was made out of paper mache. And I hope that's not the case with Isaac Guerendo because I see the talent too. I mean, last year, preseason game, you see it as soon as the preseason game. He returns that kickoff against the Raiders, and I was like, oh, this guy's got some speed. I didn't really know. And then as the season progressed, you're seeing flashes of it. And now you're right. He knows the system. He knows how to handle the ball a little bit more. And, it's going to slow down for him as it should for every running back as they get better. So I'm excited for him. Jacob Cowing, man, I think he could be a nice little
Looks great.
3 to 5 catches a game. And again, they're going to need help out there because you can't just keep throwing to Juwan Jennings because then they're going to start doubling him up. And again, we don't know. Brandon Aiyuk's coming back. And Ricky Persall, I'm not going to lie to you, Larry, the hamstring kind of scares me a little bit. So I think Cowing's going to have to really step up this year.
Well, I think we have to temper our expectations for Pearsall. I'm just, I don't know that he can be Brandon Aiyuk. Just because you went in the first round doesn't mean that you're going to produce like a first rounder. But I do feel really good about Watkins producing as a rookie. I feel really good about Cowing busting out in year 2, and I feel incredible about Isaac Guerendo doing his thing. You mentioned CMC. Let's be honest. This whole thing starts with CMC. He's got to be right. And I asked Bobby T about CMC today, and here's what Bobby T had to say about Christian McCaffrey.
Christian, I thought looked really good the other day on the practice field. What did you think?
Yes, I'm very happy with Christian, where Christian is. And the key thing is I know when to get out of the way. I let Christian be Christian. And so, yes, right now I'm extremely happy with Christian.
There you go. So he's happy with Christian. He allows Christian to be Christian. So, in other words, I don't tell him too much. But
I'm gonna stay out of his way. He's Christian McCaffrey. I don't need to coach Christian McCaffrey. Basically, he coaches me probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I stay out of his way. Christian's Christian, and but I mean, the bottom line is there was some debate last week, and Grant and I were streaming a couple days ago, and he thought that maybe he's lost a step. I thought he looked really bouncy and explosive. Barrows seemed to think he looked bouncy and explosive. Lynch said as much on KMBR. It's hard to say. It's hard to know. It's May. You know what I mean? So whether he looked great or whether he looked okay, it's still May. Now, as I just said, the other, with Petit Frere, you look bad enough in May, you'll be cut and you won't make it to June. You know what I mean? Or it's June now, I guess I should say. But, you don't make it to training camp when you look really, really bad in OTAs. But Christian McCaffrey obviously is making it to training camp no matter what. And I thought he looked really explosive. Now, we're going to find out. He was the offensive player of the year 2 years ago. Can he get to that level? I don't know. I would personally, Raj, would like to see McCaffrey used as a receiver because you don't have Debo and you don't have Aiyuk, and you got a bunch of runners. I mean, in fact, I'd love to see CMC, take at least 10-20% of his touches out of carries and make them passes. And I think that could maybe help him a little bit just by using him a little bit more as a receiver. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he's shown that he can be, a short yardage back, but even not just the short yardage, receiving back. There's been times where I think last year, little route on the edge of the field where Brock Purdy just drops a dime to him. he can do that kind of stuff. He's definitely a running back that could play on the wide receiver side of things. He can run the routes, just like Debo, right? Debo was a guy that could do both, running back, wide receiver type player, slash type player. And I think CMC has a lot of similar, skills that could help this offense. And they've done it many times where they throw the ball to CMC, and he takes a small little play and turns it upfield because he has that running ability. The vision, it doesn't change. His running abilities are going to carry over as he gets the ball as a weapon in the air. So, yeah, I definitely think that that's the key. I just don't, the thing with CMC is you just can't run him up the gut 2 yards here and on halfback dives. Like, we have to conserve him because, yes, he's a great player. And, from the debate last week, people say he lost a step. You can't really the people that weren't there, because you were there and certain people were there, and they're saying he looks fast. Some people question it, but people that are watching the clips that are posted, you can't really see the speed on a clip. Like, you can look at it and say, like I said, well, he looks good, he looks healthy, but you can't really see it unless you're in the moment. So to me, that whole debate was so silly because it was started by people that weren't at the practice. So it is what it is. To me, him being there and being healthy is what matters. And that's what we need to see out of Christian McCaffrey throughout the year, is staying healthy, because we know how important he is to this offense. He's the X factor. If he's hurt, I don't know how many games this team can win. The offense is not going to be the same because he changes so much. So many people stack the box when he's in, and then it kind of open it up for Kittle and Jennings and everybody else. So, yeah, I'd like to see him catch the ball. I'd like to see him run the ball. I don't want to see him do halfback dives and get used 25 carries a game. You have Guerendo. You drafted a running back. You have some guys that can run the ball. Utilize them. Spread the ball. Spread the wealth. Throw it to Kittle. Throw it to Jennings. Don't
hand it to Patrick Taylor. Hand it to Izzy Abanaconda. Hand it to Jordan James. Hand it to this guy, Corey Kiner. In fact, I asked Bobby T today about his impressions of Corey Kiner. Here's what he had to say.
Corey Kiner is a young back, and you guys have had a lot of success, Bobby, with undrafted guys and late round guys. I liked Kiner back when he went to LSU. Got a really nice spin move. Hard runner with good balance. What do you see? Contact balance seems like his calling card.
You named it. You named it there. The contact balance. Okay. Yeah. And again, another player with a positive attitude. Again, anyone that we bring into our system, we expected him, to be coachable. To blend in. Because it takes all 11 players. And the key thing is, those running backs are key. They help set up the blocks. They make everyone around them better.
It's funny. One of the things that Bobby told us like about a minute or two after this is that, when it comes time to evaluate running backs, he's like, hey, man, it's a position where you got to be really tough. And he's like, you can't really evaluate their toughness until the pads come on in the summer. Yeah. So that's the downside of running backs. But they really like Corey Kiner. They really like Jordan James. And they got a pretty deep backfield there. And I agree wholeheartedly with what your point was a minute ago, which is it's not that you got to, really, stop using CMC or use them in some dramatically different way. It's just take the 3 to 5 carries between the tackles that are just meant to pick up a yard or two and give those carries to somebody else. Utilize some other back and take those hits off of CMC. If they can do that, even minimize a little bit of the hits that he takes over the course of the year, I think that's probably what the doctor ordered. You don't have to. It's not like they have to not use him or only use him as a receiver. Just don't buck him into the line. Or how about this? When everybody in the entire stadium in the fourth quarter knows that you're going to run because you got a lead against Carolina and you're trying to run out the clock, use a different back. Use anybody but CMC, right? At that point. Yeah. Because everybody knows they're going to take hits, and those guys take tons of hits. So it's like, you know what? Finish, you finish with Mitchell, finish with somebody that's not CMC.
Yeah, preserve the legs, Larry. We need those CMC legs for the playoffs. We need them for down the stretch in December. Because if you don't have those legs in December, I love, like I just said, I like Guerendo. I like the guys we have. But you're going to overstrain them, and then the depth drops, and that's exactly what happens every year. It's like, okay, this guy goes down, let's get the other guy. That guy goes down because you're just using one guy between the tackles, and running backs take such a beating. That's why a lot of them have short shelf lives, and that's why it's like remarkable when you look at Frank Gore's career. This man was so consistent for so many years. And he was a running back. He had a few injuries here and there throughout his career, but running backs after like 5-6 years, they're usually the average running back after 2 to 3 years, they're worthless. They're absolutely worthless because they hit that wall. They get all the beating. 28 years old, the running back is like a 48-year-old, and if you really look at it, the wear and tear they have on their legs. So just preserve the man's legs. That's it.
The star today, I think undoubtedly, was Chris Kasarik. A lot of people wanted to talk to Kasarik today, and we got a couple cuts we're going to play you from Kasarik. He was really good today. I asked him about Bryce Huff. And, Bryce Huff was an undrafted free agent, and it took him a couple years to figure it out. But he's gotten better and better and better. Here's what Chris had to say about his kind of career progression of Bryce Huff.
Chris, what do you see about as far as the evolution of Huff? He came into the league undrafted. He didn't produce a lot early. He's produced a lot over the last 3 years for the most part, if you look at the pressure rates.
Yeah, just a self-made man in the NFL. Anytime an undrafted rookie, works and grinds his way through and then makes the team and then becomes a productive player within a scheme and then becomes a double-digit type sacker in the NFL. It's a self-made man. There's a lot of hard work behind the scenes that goes into it because undrafted guys are a little bit behind the 8 ball from the start, just as far as just making the team and then to really excel within a role and then to really truly carve out a role and become one of the top players as far as some of the get-off metrics and some of the pressure metrics. And then, his last year there with the Jets, the sack production followed it all. He's a self-made man. It's a lot of hard work that went in behind the scenes to get to that point.
Yeah, so he really likes him. I thought one of the most interesting answers today, Raj, because, of course, the question came up, hey, is Bryce Huff a one-year wonder? Why was he not more productive last year in Philadelphia? He only had 2.5 sacks on a Super Bowl championship team. And Chris, brought it up, which, a lot of people have said, well, it's just different scheme. But he kind of brought it to life, Raj. He said, basically, he said standing up as an outside linebacker in a 3-4 defense is quite a bit different. And he said his explanation was the foot sequencing is quite a bit different from a 2-point stance in a 3-4 front to your hand in the dirt in a 4-3 wide 9 get up the field front. That the foot sequencing is quite a bit different, and it has to do with your get off and how much momentum you have at the snap. And he just seems like kind of echoing a little bit of what Brandon Graham said. I don't know if you saw that, but basically just that, hey, you know what? Every scheme is not a fit for every guy, and that this guy is a much better fit for the solid scheme that he played in when he got 10 sacks a couple years ago. And I think the thinking is that at age 27, you put Bryce Huff back in this scheme opposite Nick Bosa, and he's absolutely going to flourish. And there doesn't the way Chris explained it with the foot sequencing, it does make a lot of sense. He says it's a totally different world from a hand in the dirt and all the sequencing that goes with the steps. And these guys are, we see guys with helmets and sweat and this and that. This is choreographed. This is a choreographed ballet with freaking monster athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Brandon Graham and Chris Kasarik both made the good points, and it's a scheme fit. And when he was with the Jets, he had his best season of his career. Now, granted, it was a contract year. I'm sure money was motivated, but he's back on a team. He wants to prove himself. If he wants to make more money and continue to have a good career, he's got to go out there and showcase, yeah, I can get you 8 sacks, 9 sacks. That was not a mirage. And I think that scheme fits him better. Everybody's saying it, it's like you change something that works, and now you have to relearn something. You have to relearn stuff in your brain. And if you're so used to doing something a certain way, sometimes you can't adapt. It's just, it's not. And then mentally, I think it got to him. He's like, dude, I signed this big contract. Now people are saying I'm terrible. I'm a one-hit wonder, one-year wonder. And he worked his way as an undrafted free agent to get to that point. So in his mind, he knows he's good. But now I think he's coming into the Niners with a chip on his shoulder. He's happy. And in Philadelphia's a tough crowd with the media, and 49ers are too. And I think he realized, like, hey, Philadelphia ate me up, chewed me alive. Now I'm here with the Niners, and I can improve that. If I can come in here, make a name, and get 8 to 10 sacks, people are going to love me. Because the Niners, let's be honest, they've taken people that have kind of failed, Arden Key, and Charles Menahu, types of guys like that who were relatively unknown or had a bad start to their career. Turn them around. They both went and signed big contracts. So I feel like it's going to be a reclamation project, and I think he's going to come in and really be hungry to prove himself. And he's still 27. That's still a damn good age. I think it's a good signing. It's low risk, and it was a conditional 5th. I hope they get a 4th round pick out of it, Larry, because if he becomes
absolutely
4th round pick, that means he did good for the Niners. That's what I want. So yeah, I'm happy about this trade, and I like what Chris Kaczmarek said. He's a self-made man. Let's go. Hopefully he continues to make himself a name. There you go.
It's funny too, because yesterday Kevin and I were talking about it. He's like, oh yeah, it came out, and I think he was misreading something, and he's like, Dad, it came out that it's a 3rd round pick. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, you know what? I go, Howie Roseman took advantage of us. I go, it's a 3rd round pick. I go, oh my God, Howie Roseman picked John Lynch's pocket. And then he's like, well, no, wait, Dad, no, wait. I think I got that wrong. I think it's a 5th round pick that can be a 4th. And I'm like, oh, it's a steal. Yeah. But I mean, literally, that's how I feel. If it had been a 3rd round pick, I think Howie would have picked John's pocket. If it was a straight 4th round pick, maybe advantage Howie. But as a 5th round pick that potentially could be a 4th round pick, I think that's fair. I really do. I think that's a fair price.
For both teams, because again, if they get the 4th, that means he did good for the Niners, and we want him to do good for the Niners. And if it turns out to be a 4th for them, great for both parties. Honestly, that was a very fair trade. Nobody got the upper hand on that. I feel like John Lynch and Howie they probably looked at each other and said, look, I want this. You want that? That's a fair trade. It doesn't always go down that way. So I'm very excited, because how many times have we sat here through the year last year and say, get some edge help? I mean, Robert Beal, we talked about, he wasn't the guy. Drake Jackson, they already cut him. He wasn't the guy. They had Yetur Gross-Matos, who missed a handful of games last year, and Sam O, who, I like the potential of Sam O, but I don't think he's a top-tier pass rush specialist. He's going to be a good rotationary player. Maybe
he's fine of 1 of 5. He's fine.
Yeah, 1 of 5. But we need a guy,
but not as the guy. He's not.
The guy.
If he's your starter, you need to upgrade. But if he's 1 of 5 defensive ends on your roster, I think that's fine. Because he's pretty strong.
He's pretty strong, yeah, and he's been improving. I think he knows he can get a bigger, role and whatnot. And now, if you can get them to 3rd and 8, and you're having to stare Bryce Huff and Nick Bosa on 3rd down, it's a whole different ballgame.
You mentioned Sam O. I mentioned Sam O today to Chris Kaczmarek because to me the Niners have a second Sam O, and it's Teron Jackson. And I love Teron Jackson. I think the Niners got a real steal. And listen to Chris talk a little bit about Teron. Here he is in the auditorium today. I asked him about the young defensive end from Coastal Carolina.
Chris, last year you guys picked up Aquinu, or 2 years ago, and then played him last year. This last year you signed Teron Jackson in December. A buddy of mine recruited him to Coastal Carolina. Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year once upon a time. What do you see with Jackson? Does he have a shot this summer?
Yeah, kind of the same thing I saw out of Sam O. We got Sam O very late in the process. The Super Bowl year back in 23, and didn't get, at that point in time in the season, things are, we're not going full tilt. It's not like we're in training camp and evaluating skill sets, but you do get to see him in an individual setting over there, and you saw the quickness out of his stance. You saw the explosion and the twitch. And kind of similar to Teron Jackson, we got him late in the process, and but you did see the quickness and just in the meeting room, his eagerness to get back into a scheme similar to ours, and the willingness to learn, and then just seemed like a guy that just really loved football in the short period of time that we were with him late last year. So it's a guy we're kind of intrigued to see what he can do moving forward.
Yeah, so that's another name. I mean, and I know people, don't know much about him and don't think much of him, but I'm telling you, Teron Jackson is a name to watch for this summer. Kind of like Sam O last summer. One of these guys signed internally, and then, it's funny. You sign in December, you get so much of an advantage because you get, several months to hang around the facility and in a no pressure environment, learn. And then all of a sudden, those guys get into it, and Sam O was major advantage last year. I thought Sam O was a major shot in the arm, and Teron Jackson is quick and can do the job as well. The other story I thought today was that CJ West is just already showing that he just has just the most crazy violent hands.
I love it.
And I asked Chris about that today. For a defensive line coach, they love guys who have the crazy violent hands. And there's no question that CJ West has that. And I asked Chris about it today. Here's what he had to say.
Chris West has violent hands, and you can see it. You've seen a lot of defensive linemen through the years. Where do you put his hands with the guys you've coached?
His hand balance is up there, just his ability to be able to strike and win contact and jolt back contact and control blockers with his hands, and then ability to, shed and escape blockers. It's, as a young dude, coming from college, it's, advanced for where, he's at in this stage of his career, just balance he can play with his upper body and ability to separate off people and use it and use the power through his upper body to really control blockers. It's, obviously something that really drew us to him.
Yeah, Raj, advanced. For a rookie, hand usage is it's a veteran trait, and it's not usually something that the rookies come in and have great strength in their hands and the ability to just control blockers and grab guys and throw them away at the last second. But CJ West has unbelievable hands, and he's just so violent with his hands that I've seen him pull centers towards him and just throw them away. And you'd swear it was like me or you, like just a regular civilian or something, that the way these guys just, it's crazy. CJ West throws around 100-pound or 300-pound offensive linemen like they're, like it's nothing. So you heard Kasarik there. His hands are advanced.
I'm so that right there. I'm the big CJ West truther. I thought he was, again, he's my favorite draft pick of this class and makes me happy. And he said he's a QB hunter, and that right there is what you need to hunt the QB. You need to throw the damn lineman in front of you and get your ass to the quarterback. I'm so excited to see CJ West. Everything I've heard, everything I've read, the clips they've showed of him, he just looks smooth and like he's going to transcend into the league very, very effortlessly. I think he's going to be a very high polished defensive lineman for this team. And that to me is going to be a guy that can really step up. If he can stuff the run and just, do his job out there as a nasty defensive lineman on the inside, it's going to make this defense a whole lot better, because we've been missing that, right? You just haven't been able to stuff the run on the first two downs. And, as much as flack that Armstead took over the years, he was a good run defender. And I think we've been searching for that. Hargrave just didn't give us enough over the last 2 years when he was here, then the injury. And they've been missing that inside presence, that interior presence when DJ Jones left too. And for all intents and purposes, DeForest Buckner. Like, they've needed that interior presence. Armstead was good, got rid of him, and they just didn't have that last year. And I think this guy's going to be an absolute monster. And then, again, third down, it's 3rd and 8, Larry. You got Huff, you got Bosa, and you got CJ West trying to hunt the quarterback. So it's in theory, on paper, this defensive line should be leaps and bounds better than last year. So,
and it will help the secondary. There was one guy that I wanted to talk to today that I didn't get a chance to talk to, and that's Gus Bradley. I'm going to share the screen here. Dave Lombardi put this out on his Twitter. This is Gus Bradley. This laughter, this guy's got contagious laughter, and listen to this personality here from Gus Bradley. This is courtesy David Lombardi's Twitter.
Oh, yeah, he jokes about it. But there's a line to be drawn. No, it's not like that. No, he really is. We have a fabulous relationship.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I think I'm really excited about him. I know because I know how excited he is to be back here.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Everybody wants to have that head coaching opportunity and do very well. But I just know, hearing his voice when he called me about it, he was so excited about coming back here and being with the people like Kyle. I didn't know Kyle like that, but talking to Robert and hearing about how Kyle operates, that got me excited. How John Lynch is, how the Yorks is, the whole organization, so it was like, let's go, man. I mean, this is a great opportunity for you. You're excited about it. How can't I be excited when you're that excited about it? Yeah. So it's more of that type of relationship. And, I guess everybody has egos, right? But, I think for him and I, it's really not about that.
So when he's joking, saying go drop a play or what? What is he telling you?
No, I do think that we do believe strongly in challenging one another. I think that is. Because if you have humility, you got a chance to get better, right? And if you know that you can challenge one another and it's coming from a good place, you've got a chance. But he's the boss.
There you go, a little Gus Bradley. Great personality, Raj. I think this might be one of the real sleeper offseason additions. I know, he's a coach and he's not a coordinator for the Niners, and we're not exactly sure what role he's going to man, but this guy's a veteran coach. He's been a head coach. He's tough. He's got a presence about him. The fact that he didn't know Kyle, but that Saleh sold him on Kyle in this situation, I like that. And to me, I'm really intrigued by what Gus Bradley brings to the table. What do you think?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago we did some exercise. You said one of the biggest off-season acquisitions. I think one of us, I don't know if it's you or I, but we both, one of us mentioned that. And Gus Bradley definitely, to me, is a huge addition to this defense. Because look, last year the coaches were Brandon Staley and Nick Sorensen. They absolutely upgraded. Two smart defensive guys who have a good rapport. You could tell they've known each other for years. So it's like, two guys that have been doing this forever. They're going to fix this defense. They take pride in it, and it's a major upgrade. And this guy seems very smart. This is the first time I've really listened to him talk, but you could tell he kind of controls the room. He has a good personality. I feel like the players are going to listen to him, and that's what you need. You need guys that know the game, Larry, because last year, Nick Sorensen, I don't think he knew his thumb from his pinky at the end of the day. And you're trying to teach these guys, they're not going to listen to you if you're not confident. Like when he spoke, I didn't think he had any confidence. I don't even think he believed what he was saying out there. So now you have a guy like Gus Edwards that's been in the NFL for many years, and Big Bob, right? Those two guys are confident when they speak. They talk, and it's like you have to listen. They're going to command the respect of the room. And I think that is why this defense is going to improve, because they have coaches that these players are going to listen to. These guys are getting paid millions of dollars. You think they want to listen to you if you don't know what the hell you're talking about? Absolutely not.
You called him Gus Edwards. I know you meant Gus Bradley, but yeah. One last one here. What was the deal today on Brandon Aiyuk's Instagram? He posted a photo of Terrell Owens doing sit-ups in his driveway as a member of the Eagles.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on here? Explain the. I don't have time to understand all the social media postings of Brandon Aiyuk. Is he happy? Is he unhappy? What's the story?
I think he's bored, and I think he's trying to tell people I'm also ready. Look, this is me. I'm getting my body ready to be prime for the season. But people took it the wrong way. I think people were thinking he's being dramatic. I didn't take it that way. I think he was locked in, because he also he's been posting a lot on his YouTube. Nobody looks at his YouTube. So he also posted he's posted a lot over the last couple of days, but been tracking it. He posted this on his YouTube along with the Terrell Owens thing. This is what he posted on YouTube. He posted, they want to play cool now? Nah, F no. I want that smoke still. So he's like, you coming at me? You switching up. Keep the energy. I'm going to prove you wrong. And then he posted the TO working out in his driveway. I don't know if you remember that story, Larry. Back in 2005, he was with the Eagles in training camp, and there was some issue with him and Andy Reid. Andy Reid says, you're suspended. He thought he was, and then he invited the media to come to his house on the driveway. This is back when SportsCenter was the show. Social media wasn't really there. So they came to the driveway, And he pulls up, he puts a bench on the corner. He's doing sit-ups. He's got these weights, looking, he's flexing his body and basically showing him like, I'm ready to go. I don't need training camp. I'm going to be ready for the season. And then he says something like, I love the fans, because I guess there was like a altercation or some miscommunication with the fans. So I think Brandon Aiyuk's saying like, hey, I love the fans, because that was one of the messages T.O. has. But then he also posted several minutes after that, like, F the fans that don't, respect me. They're hating on me. He goes, this is what he said, Larry. He says, if you're 30 years older, just post your kids and shut up. That's what he said. He said, stop hating on me. That's what Brandon Aiyuk basically is saying is, let me do my thing. Everybody's going to hate on me, but I'm going to be ready to prove myself. I think that's the gist of it, or at least the way I took it. I didn't think it was him trying to look for a trade, because some people are saying he wants out. He's being dramatic. I just think I honestly think he's bored out of his mind.
I don't know, man. Something doesn't seem right. He just doesn't seem overly thrilled to be here. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe who knows. By the way, as we're sitting here, the Giants choke to lead and lose to the Padres 3-2. Padres scored 2 in the 9th and 1 in the 10th and beat the Giants 3-2. Bivens takes the loss. This is what happens when you score 2 fucking runs a day. You get run over from behind. I mean, it's just simple as that. You score 2 fucking runs a game, you get beat from behind, and everybody goes home blaming relievers. Anthony Catania says, love the show. Everyone hit that like button. Anthony Catania, of course, is one of our sponsors, and we haven't mentioned them tonight, but we probably should. We are brought to you by Sharp Corners Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. And Anthony's at 831-521-5264. And his Instagram is Sharp Corners 831 on IG. So he's a great follow on IG, Sharp Corners 831 on Instagram, or give him a call at 831-521-5264, or just stop by there at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California. Sharp Corners, sports cards and collectibles. And thanks to Anthony for sponsoring the Krug Show and he's a big Niner fan. And I've enjoyed tonight's show. We've played a lot of clips on the show from today, and hopefully you guys have gotten a chance to get a feel for it. Raj, final thought before we get out of here. Is there a story in Ninerland that we didn't touch today, or an anecdote that you saw? I've got one I can share with you, but is there anything that you want to bring to the table in this stream that maybe I haven't covered?
Yeah, this is from yesterday. Christian McCaffrey has officially passed the Madden curse to Saquon Barkley.
I saw that. Yeah. I also saw Chris Sims now starting to say that he likes Brock Purdy.
Yeah, they're switching up. The media's got it.
What's going on there, Raj?
That's it. Basically, he's backing him up now. He's vouching for Brock, where all of a sudden he's turning I feel like that's going to be the story of Brock Purdy this year. The media is slowly going to turn and say, oh, look at Brock. But then there's still going to be people in the media like the Nick Wrights that say, oh, no, it's because of this and that and the other. But I feel like the story is people are going to start to accept Brock. And, well, he is better than Tua. Oh, he is better than Lawrence. Like, I feel like that's the way the media's story is going to go this year, the agenda. But I don't know. I could be wrong. But, yeah, it's basically, like you said, he's switching up. And now all of a sudden he's giving him credit and saying, well, Brock earned the contract and this, that, and the other. But it's just the media, man. They switch up too much.
One last thought. It seems like a day can't go by without somebody suggesting the Niners pick up a veteran receiver. I've been saying Malachi Corley. I've heard people say Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Gabe Davis. The latest is Brandon Austin of Pro Football and Sports Network suggested that Kendrick Bourne could potentially come back here. He's probably going to be caught up in a numbers game in New England. If New England cuts Kendrick Bourne and the Niners need a receiver at the cut down, then I could see it, but there'll be no trade. There'll be no significant deal. Oh, one other thing is I thought it was interesting. 2 things today. Johnny Holland really talked up Stone Blanton. He says he really likes the way Stone Blanton is coming on. He likes the way he takes coaching hard. He says he gets better and better and better. He shows up at the football. He's very productive. I got the sense that the Niners feel like they may have a Chris Borland type in Stone Blanton, just something to keep your eye on. And the other note that I forgot to mention is Chris Forster told us today that Spencer Burford's a tackle now. So
did he say that?
He said he's a tackle now. They're looking at Spencer Burford a tackle.
I'm gonna find that clip. Good to know.
It's there. It's there. I don't know exactly. He said it right as I was walking up. I don't know if I got it on tape, but Spencer Burford is going to be a tackle according to Chris Forster.
That's very, very interesting news there, Larry. Big developing news, actually. That's a developing story right there. I like that. It's a nice little spicy.
Yeah.
So,
that's going to do it for us today. Thanks to Claudaddy Arcades. We got this one, Dallas Agencia. Says Claudaddy Arcades, mentioning Claudaddy. Claudaddy, one of the sponsors of the Krug Show. He's a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a Claudaddy Arcade location near you. Thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy. The link's in the description below for LearnKey. They're a fantastic company. And thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. We always love streaming with Raj. Hope you guys enjoyed our Tuesday night stream. I'm back in Santa Clara tomorrow for a full day. Raj will be posting, so keep it locked on RSF 49ers on all platforms. For Raj, I'm Larry. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.